Hello there, this is Wakeangel2K1. Please consider supporting me on Patreon. Also, if you wish to commission me, read the new disclaimer. I set up a Gmail account just for commissions now so that people can contact me easier. It's commissionwakeangel2001@gmail.com. It's a lot to type, but I figured it'll be at least easy to remember. Alright, let's get to this. A little while ago, I put out a poll on my DeviantArt to see what people's interest in my next personal project would be, and Sonic won out. So we're going with a new Sonic personal project, Captain Metal Sonic, seen in Sonic Universe. Now, you guys might want to sit down and get yourselves a snack because this is an origin story that spans 3 comic book series. Oh yeah, this is gonna be epic. Okay, so Captain Metal's origin begins in the pages of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, when an obsessive Dr. Eggman was rebuilding Metal Sonic with a new upgrade. He had the SXSU-401 engine rather than the STH-25 engine, which is usually the standard they use for Metal Sonic. Now, that's actually a little bit of a reference, like STH-25 is Sonic the Hedgehog issue 25, and SXSU-401 is shorthand for Sonic X issue 40 and Sonic Universe issue 1. He's already announcing a month in advance the Bridge series. This is going to be awesome. Alright, so as soon as he turned Metal Sonic on, the first thing it did was triangulate where Sonic was and then immediately pursued him. And of course, the thing that's so special about the SXSU-401 is that it could actually travel between dimensions, so that he could pursue Sonic literally anywhere that he goes. This, of course, led to the Hedgehog Havoc storyline in the comic book, where just about every Hedgehog character united to battle against Scourge on, Mobius. Mobius spelled with an E. The evil anti-Mobius is what I'm getting at. And yes, Sonic's parents and uncle, Uncle Chuck, Bernadette, and, whatever Sonic, Jules the Hedgehog, they all cameoed in the issue 2, but, at the beginning as concerned parents because, they don't actually fight. Alright, and, Sonic actually was able to convince this version of Metal Sonic to work with him temporarily, because this thing had an upgrade to his artificial intelligence. He could even talk, where previous iterations of Metal Sonic were actually quite silent. Of course, things started to go south once Scourge got to his supply of Anarchy Barrel and went super. When the United Front was needed most of all, this is when their little group started to break apart. Because realizing that he couldn't do anything against Scourge, Metal Sonic reprioritized and started attacking Sonic again. This led Shadow to play interference. He sensed the power of the SXSU-401 engine and used it to force a chaos control, taking them out of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic and into the Sonic X comic. That's right, issue 40, the final issue of the Sonic X comic, would begin with Shadow and Metal Sonic popping into a tea party hosted by Cream and Vanilla. It was pretty hilarious seeing such a pastoral scene interrupted by something so massively violent. Especially considering how the Sonic X comic actually was. Alright, full disclosure, I didn't like the Sonic X comic that much. It was too much like the first few episodes of Sonic X. If it had more in common with Series 2, the Meta X Saga, it could have been a really good adventure comic, but it really was just like a lighthearted comedy for really young kids. It wasn't even on Sonic Boom's level, really. Of course, things in the Sonic X universe work a little bit differently. As soon as he found himself separated from the battle, the first thing that Metal Sonic did was try to seek out a Dr. Eggman to serve. This scared the crap out of Eggman's minions in that universe because, he's genuinely frightening looking compared to them. Of course, when he found this super loyal robotic Sonic come up to him, he figured, hey, why not look a gift horse in the mouth? And he took him into battle against Sonic. Of course, as soon as he arrived in the battlefield, Shadow jumped them again and forced the Chaos Control, taking them back out of the reality. This is also where it was revealed that in the Sonic X continuity, Dr. Eggman actually saved Shadow after the Space Colony Arc incident. So it fills in a little plot hole in the video games, and a little bit of the bridge in the series as well. You know, it's just good to see how that ended up. The Sonic X comic ended with a tiny little plot hole being filled. This is where we arrived in our third comic book series, the first issue of Sonic Universe. Shadow and Metal Sonic pop up over the oceans of Blaze's world, also heretofore known as the Soul Dimension. Now, Blaze's world is kind of weird. It's been said that it's mostly ocean with only some island nations. It doesn't really have any large continents. More on that later. Of course, Shadow's stuck in the water once Metal Sonic kicks him into it, but fortunately he's rescued by Blaze and Marine. Now, there's no Dr. Eggman in the Soul Dimension, so Metal Sonic just kind of defaults into causing random mayhem while trying to find him. Now, this is where Shadow actually tries to convince Metal Sonic that he doesn't have to just be a mindless weapon in pursuit of a target. He tries to convince him to, like himself, be something more than he was originally intended. Metal Sonic considers this for a few moments, but in the end decides that his program is absolute, and if Shadow intends to stop him, he'd have to destroy him. This is unfortunate, but working together with Blaze and Marine, they are able to finally defeat Metal Sonic, supposedly once and for all. I also love this issue because it features the Best Face Award from Shadow the Hedgehog. No, seriously, I just love that face. I could set that as my wallpaper. But wait, we're not done yet. Fast forward to around issue 55 or so of Sonic Universe, and we encounter the first issues after the Super Genesis wave. Now, the Soul Dimension doesn't appear to be majorly affected by the Super Genesis wave, although Amy, Cream, Bark, and Bean did get sent there instead of their proper Prime Dimension after the Genesis wave. This is because if you look at the characters after the Genesis wave, almost everybody gets a character redesign, but since Amy and Cream already look like how they did in the video game, they didn't need it. So it was actually a pretty clever idea to send them to the Soul Dimension to explain why they don't have a different look in the comics universe. Because we all know the meta explanation why, but we need an in-universe explanation. So, in Blaze's universe, it actually turns out that there's a community of robots. And there was a Dr. Robot, see what they did there? I see his character design too, floating around, who found the remains of Metal Sonic. And he managed to put him together enough that Metal Sonic then went to the stronghold, we'll call it, of the robot pirates, which, you know, are a thing in the Soul Dimension because of Sonic Rush Adventure. Despite being in a very bad state of disrepair, he was able to defeat the robot captain Boltbeard, and he took his components to rebuild himself. And this, finally, is where we get Captain Metal. Yeah, it's basically Metal Sonic as a robot pirate. There's actually very little of Metal Sonic's original look in there. He still has his right eye, and his right foot actually does look like the vague shape of a Metal Sonic foot, just, recolored into like a pirate boot kind of thing. I also love how he actually has a real peg leg and a blunderbuss arm with a sword as a bayonet, a pirate cutlass as a bayonet, I should say. It's just a really great design, and I always want to make a toy of it, which is why we're doing this video now. Now, it seems in addition to a physical change, he also had a very significant mental change. He has the full-on mannerisms and attitude of a pirate. He talks in complete sentences now. He doesn't just speak mechanically about his objectives, but actually talks like a pirate. Like just think Pirates of the Caribbean pirate, and you kind of get what he sounds like. And he's also pretty darn ruthless. Like he completely obliterates Blaze's ship, supposedly while its crew is still on it. Like I know, like the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book was always leaned towards a more teen audience, but even by the standards of this comic, that's pretty darn violent. So he kidnaps Blaze and takes her to his stronghold, which turns out to be the remains of the Death Skull Egg. The Death Skull Egg being the new Death Egg that was built as a collaborative effort between Dr. Wily and Dr. Eggman in the Worlds Collide story arc. So yeah, that's where the thing ended up, and it's actually believed that it was the Super Genesis wave itself that actually turned Metal Sonic from a destroyed pile of scrap floating in the ocean into something that got salvaged and turned into this robot pirate form. It's believed that although the Soul Dimension mostly avoided the reboot, this is actually what its major effect was. And I guess this is the best time to actually mention Blaze's dimension. It's kind of weird. I mean, first of all, there are no large consonants in it, for one thing, and second of all, it's inherently unstable. Unless the 7 Soul Emeralds are kept next to each other and under careful guard, the dimension basically becomes unstable and wants to collapse on itself all the time. I think it might just be a little pocket universe that a group of Mobians created a while ago, or something like that, because it just doesn't really seem like a complete universe on its own. But I digress. Let's get back to Metal Sonic and all of his captaining stuff. At the end of the storyline, Captain Metal upgraded himself with some giant enemy crab parts, and he was able to attack Blaze's weak point for massive damage. Yeah, so he's actually pretty powerful in this form. You'd think he'd be kind of clumsy and slow, but he totally defeated Blaze, which is a pretty impressive feat when you consider that Blaze is kind of on par with Sonic in terms of physical ability. So upon defeating Blaze, he intended to use the Soul Emerald to get the Death Skull Egg back in order, but Blaze was able to turn the tables on him when she got all 7 of the Soul Emeralds and turned into her burning Blaze form, utterly melting Captain Metal's body. Of course, Captain Metal, he transferred his consciousness into the Death Skull Egg itself and tried one last desperate attack. But of course, Burning Blaze was able to destroy the entire Death Skull Egg herself directly, supposedly putting an end to Captain Metal once and for all. Of course, we all know that there is nothing more tenacious than a Metal Sonic in the Sonic universe, so it's implied that he still survives, and assuming any part of the Death Egg robot of the Death Skull Egg still functions, maybe he was planning on building himself another body. Of course, with the comic's rumored cancellation, it's very sad that we're probably never going to see this character return. I really hope somehow, somewhere, the comic continues and we can see this version of Metal Sonic again. But, you know, that's a story for another day. Okay, so we're what, 13 minutes in, and we're just getting to the toy now? Great! Alright, so let's talk about the base toy's backstory. Yes, because this is a special base toy too. A few years ago, I was going through Sonic Gear's fan-made items section, and I saw this really cool Silver Sonic, which was made by a fellow Sonic toy customizer named Andrew Strappers. So I actually got into contact with him because of this figure and started up a friendship with him. We would talk and collaborate and even exchange materials. Fast forward a couple years, and he sent me a care package. It was a box full of a bunch of miscellaneous figure parts that he no longer needed, and a few of his old customs that had fallen into disrepair, including this one. Now, it was actually kind of sad to see such an awesome Silver Sonic custom reduced to such a state. So I figured there had to be something I could do to, revitalize this thing and make it great again. And when I saw Captain Metal, I knew exactly what I was gonna do. Oh, by the way, Andrew Strappers is also known as Strapper01. Yeah, he's the guy that made the opening animation theme song that I've been using for all this time. So yeah, that's a friendship. Okay, so let's actually make the toy. I started with the torso. I had to sculpt in, of course, the buttoned up shirt look that he has because he's a captain. And here's a little secret: the body is actually backwards. Yeah, the jet intake that normally defines his belly, I decided to turn it around to his back. And the jet's thruster, which is in the back, Strapper had already cut that off when he made it into Silver Sonic. So, given the way the body is shaped, it was easier for me to just turn it around rather than try to carve out another belly. Then I made the skirts for, the shirt tails, and painted it all up. It's mostly black with the white shirt and some gold trim. And then he needed a cape. This is the shape of the cape I cut in. It goes around, it's designed to look like it goes around his neck and also spreads out for his shoulder pads. Plus there's holes in it, and it's supposed to look all tattered because, you know, pirate captains always wear tattered capes because it makes them look like been in a lot of battles. The arms were pretty simple modifications. I mostly went with what he modified. The left hand was still intact, and the right hand was intact too, but I didn't need it. I took those cylinders that he put on to bulk it up into the Silver Sonic arms and turned it around to be the blunderbuss, and then sculpted in the sword. With everything painted up, we have a left hand that has a hand, and a right arm that will have a blunderbuss and a sword on it. Also, look at the tassels on the shoulder pads. Again, Strapper added those bigger shoulder pads. I just improved them. They have the little bolt tassels that hang down. I made those with my 3D pen. It's really cool how I'm finding use for that 3D pen for a whole bunch of stuff now. Now, Strapper was kind enough to have sanded Metal Sonic's head all nice and round, so all I had to do was add sculpting to it to make it look like Captain Metal. This included the face, which has like a chapless skull look going on, a big old eye patch covering the left eye, and his pirate hat with the screws coming out the temples. The brim of the hat itself is made out of cardstock. With it all painted up, you see the real hodgepodge look of his face. Silver for the metal patchwork, blue for what's left of his original face, and I tried 3 different colors on the teeth look for his skull face thing going on, and I ended up going with white because it was the thing that looked most accurate to the comic. I tried making it gray and beige, and it just didn't look right. So I reassembled the figure to this point, and a part of me was really tempted to try and go for the giant crab look from the end of the arc, but I figured, nah, let's just go with the regular legs. If it was easier for me to pop out the waist joint, I probably would have made it a swappable accessory, but then I'd also have to swap out the arm too, and that's a bit of a hassle because it's a lot more firmly attached. Legs, we need to have them. So, like you saw in the base picture, the figure only had one remaining leg, and it didn't even have a foot. And I didn't have any spare Metal Sonic feet, so I had to completely make a new foot entirely from scratch. And then the left leg, the peg leg one, is a Knuckles leg, which I extended so that it would be as long as the Metal Sonic leg, and then sculpted it to look like a peg leg. All painted up, you got a very nice Captain Metal boot, and then a really cool Captain Metal peg leg. So let's reassemble fully the Captain Metal figure and take a look at the completed figure at like the 18 and some seconds mark. Yeesh, this has been the longest custom video I ever made. Next time I make a personal project, I'm not going to pick a guy with such a massively extensive backstory. But still, the toy came out really cool, didn't it? I mean, take a look at this guy. I mean, just from every angle you see something different. I love the asymmetrical design, although I guess it is pretty inherent when you have pirates because they tend to have like eye patches and peg legs and all that kind of stuff. But seriously, just from every angle, this guy just looks totally different. Like, the color of his face changes depending which half you're looking at. One arm is a blaster. Like, hey, what is it with Metal Sonics that get destroyed and then coming back with one arm as a handless blaster? I mean, Shard did the same thing, didn't he? And although Shard was a good guy, I would really like to see Shard confront this guy. Like, 2 Metal Sonics, both of them destroyed, both of them rebuilt, and one good and one evil. Like, they could have a really good mirror of each other, couldn't they? Yeah, that's something that I'd like to see at least. But by now, you're probably all really tired from listening to my my whiny little voice. So I'm going to once again thank Andrew Strappers for sending me this old figure to rebuild, and I will see you all next time.